Wasn't working back there.
Okay. All right, just a few updates on players. Eku Leota, so he injured his pec in the game, is going to get that repaired tomorrow, so most likely that is season ending from that standpoint. Zach Calzada on his repaired shoulder will get another surgery on that. That'll be Wednesday. And so they'll go in there and repair some of what had happened from before. And so he'll be out. That'll be season ending there. Other than that, just as far as players go, guys should be available for this game. Be a couple guys that are day-to-day from the last game, and we'll see how this week goes as far as our preparation. As far as Georgia, very good football team, 5-0. I mean, we've seen these guys play, defending national champions. So overall, just as a football team, they're well coached. They've got, have had a lot of success with their program, and certainly you see that right now. You watch these guys on offense and look at Stetson Bennett, start with him, the quarterback, playing confident. He's, in my opinion, a very good player, throws, can create, and has shown that all through this season, last season. He's got guys around him, starting with the tight end, Brock Bowers, and he is a fantastic football player. He shows that, plays extremely hard, makes plays for him. They try to utilize him in a lot of ways. So we know that he's going to be a challenge. Darnell Washington, another tight end, big guy. Both those tight ends and the personnel packages, they utilize them well. Wide receivers, McConkey and Mitchell, both those guys, and there's more, not just those two, very explosive on the perimeter with their offense. Defensively, they're top 5 in the SEC in every category. And, they lost a lot of really good players last year. They've replaced those players with some really good players. And it starts with their front 7, those guys on the defensive line and the linebacker position play fast, physical. And so those guys have done well all season long. Back end is very strong. I think those guys do a really good job in coverage, and then they're also going to be involved in the run game as well. So, all across the board, a physical defense that we're going to face. Special teams, they blocked a punt against Kent State. That's hard to do against anybody, but they were able to get that done. And then overall on special teams, again, I mean, they got their better players out there, and they play extremely fast, extremely hard, and they have confidence. This for us is our first road trip, so that'll be an opportunity for us to travel, get these guys on the road, and we'll bus there. And, we'll get planned for our travel and how we expect that to go, all right, on our end of things before we go out there and play and get ready to go on Saturday. As far as our team, Sunday was a good day to come back, recover, learn from the things from the previous game, and then Tuesday will be a physical practice that we get a chance to get back out there and really start planning for Georgia, all right, and putting that together. So with that, questions?
If you have a question, raise your hand and we'll call you.
Brian Stoltz over Sports Rivals. With Anders kind of struggling in the last few games, have you thought about giving Evan a chance to, especially on those long field goals that he can do?
You talking about Alex?
Alex, sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking Evan Pearson, his brother.
Yes. We'll give him a chance. Yeah. Can we get him here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have faith in Anders. I know he is, that's not anything, from practice. He's been very good in practice, and Anders is a very consistent guy, and we still believe in him. Yes, Alex is available. Alex can go out there and have opportunities as well, but we still believe in Anders and know that he's a guy. He's played at a high level. We've missed a couple kicks. All right, that's very apparent, and we need to make those, and that's not anything that we don't talk about in this room. So this week we're going to have to prepare a little bit differently, and even in the kicking game, just having ourselves, obviously on the road, it's going to be different environments, so different things we have to do to get our guys prepared. But the one thing about Anders, I know that he will make whatever adjustments he needs to make to go out there and be successful for us in those moments, and he's done that. So Alex is ready, but Anders, still has our full support. And, this week is going to be a great week to get back on track and be consistent in the Georgia game.
They're on time.
Right, TomRadell.com. With Eku out, I guess first, what did you see from Marcus Bragg stepping in there, and also just how do you feel about that edge position moving forward?
Well, Eku's a big loss, and this has nothing to do with anybody behind him. It's just he's an emotional leader. He's one of the smartest football players we have. I mean, he is a guy that you want on your team. How he prepares, all the things he does, the respect he has of his team. So I thought Bragg did a really good job, and I think not getting all those reps, Eku and Derek are getting the majority of the reps, and then all of a sudden, bang, you're thrown into the mix. And so he settled in well. He made some plays. We got beat on the edge a couple times, but he was very close to being in the right position, and just that experience of getting out there and playing more as the game went on, he did better and better. So he and Derek, both those guys on the edge, and then Dylan as well, getting that ironed out on what we want to do with that edge position. That's what we have to work through this week. So we'll see what that looks like as we put the packages in and who we have to utilize, but we still want to get the best front seven we have out there on the field, and especially against what Georgia does. They run the ball effectively. All right, they obviously can throw it. You got to get pressure on the quarterback, give them too much time. Those guys create out in the open space. So we're still working through some of that, but I thought Bragg played well.
Jason.
Ryan, Jason, Auburn 247. You former quarterback yourself. For Robbie now going first time he will ever played on the road, much less being a starter. How do you prepare for that as a quarterback, and what's important? Or is it just a matter of just going out and trying to handle it?
Yeah, I mean, you try to prepare through the week and provide noise, right? That's really what you can do. And we're not going to bring in extra fans to yell at him and things like that. You're going to go into a hostile environment. You're not going to be favored, all right, when you get in there. And that's part of just the mental side of playing that position. But that goes for everybody. And then the noise becomes the factor. I think for Robbie, it's still continuing just to play within himself. He's learning, he's growing, he's developing. He did some really good things in that game. And he's a playmaker, and he can do more. And I think the confidence that he took away from the LSU game, we have to build on that, and then obviously be better going into this one. But the noise is really the biggest factor. And then just handling really every play when you're on the road. That's really what it comes down to. And I think that's the one thing from coaching that position and playing. It's just really just handle each and every play. Focus on the sideline, get the call in, communicate that, make sure that everybody's on the same page. Know that you're not going to be able to yell out information to guys, so you got to make sure that they're either it's a hand signal or whatever you have to do to make that adjustment. Keep everybody on the same page and then execute the play that's in front of you. And so I think that's one thing I really appreciated about Robbie is I see that from him. I think his focus, I think the way he's handled himself, I think the maturity that he's showing, all right, each and every game is getting better. So we'll see how that looks this week. But we got to focus on us. We got to make sure that we're doing things on the offensive side of the ball that we can control and then just handle the environment when we're there.
To the right, Mark.
Mark Murphy, Inside Diamond Tigers. When you had a chance to look at the video, how did the interior offensive line do with 3 swaps on position?
Yeah, I thought they actually did well. And I said it before, and it was a little bit of feast or famine. We had some big runs, and then we had some ones that we got, and it wasn't all just the inside guys, all right? It wasn't just all the offensive line. We just had some negative plays that put us behind the chains, and some of those were self-inflicted. But overall, I thought Brandon played well. I thought the interior guys did a good job. I thought the O-line, for the most part, had a solid game. There's plenty of things that we looked at that we can improve on. But overall, I mean, there were some real positive things in that game as well. The run game, we were able to get that going, and then a few penalties and some other things that kind of slowed the momentum down. But other than that, those guys, I thought were doing some things up front that we hoped we would see, and then stuff that we can build on moving forward.
Top, Johnny.
Coach Johnny Conlon, ABC 3240 in Birmingham. Just wanted to ask you about Stetson Bennett. Obviously not the most athletic guy in the world, but what makes him such an efficient quarterback for them, and ultimately, why has he been able to be such a winner since he's been there?
I'm not sure Stetson would say that. He's a good player. I'm impressed with him. I mean, there's more guys that are bigger and more athletic and all that. I was fortunate to coach a guy that wasn't very athletic that won more games than any college quarterback ever. And they would say the same thing about him. I mean, the guy's a winner. The guy's he makes plays. He's plenty fast enough to run the ball. He's plenty fast enough to scramble around and make plays. He finds the open receivers. He's accurate. And, you know, he manages their offense really well. You know, and that's one thing that I've got a chance to see him and watch those guys for a couple years and watch him as a player. And he's done a very good job. So really, you know, I don't see a whole lot of weaknesses in his game. I think he's got really good command of what they're doing. And he's plenty good enough to hurt you in all different ways. So you have to know where he's at. You have to do a great job in coverage. You got to do a great job in trying to pressure the quarterback. You got to do a great job when he scrambles of getting to him. And you got to play the entire play with him too, because that's what he does. So if you're going to let off, I mean, he's going to take advantage of that. You got to play the whole entire play against a quarterback like him.
Tobias.
Bryan from the Bias on AL.com. Well, two things. One, did you get a chance to review that third down play, or did they say anything when you sent it in? And then, in the second quarter,
I haven't seen the result from the officials and all that. Which one are you talking about?
Yeah, the face mask that was called on Derek in the second quarter.
Yeah, I haven't seen what they came back with yet.
Okay, and then the other thing is, where do you see your run game? Where can you think you can improve the run game going forward, particularly against a tough UGA team?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think number one starts inside, right? And that's number one. I mean, we can make improvements in a lot of areas there, but you got to start with your interior guys, right? Not giving up penetration. And like we talked about before, I thought they did a good job of that. And we've improved in that area, but that's always where it starts, right? You're going to play a really good D-line. You're going to play a good front seven. They're going to bring pressure, eliminating that, and then protecting our edges and finding ways to get on the perimeter as well. You know, that's part of it too. So your tackles, your tight ends, that includes your wide receivers, just getting out there on the perimeter. That's a part of it that will help improve the run game. And then, you know, we have a quarterback that can also be a part of that. And he becomes an option as well, and he's done some good things, you know, when we've asked him to run. We had a few explosive plays with him, and we got to keep building on those things. So, I mean, it continues to be, you know, things that we've done, but you know, every single week we've got a little bit different scheme, a little different opponent. You know, who are the guys that are the strengths on their team? And, you know, on this defense, they're all the strengths on that team. So every single guy just doing their job and making sure that, you know, we provide our backs a chance to get started. I think that's the one thing. Jarquez, Tank, both those guys showed that we get those guys started, you know, they can get yards. So we got to do a good job up front to make that happen.
Second round, Brian.
Coach Brian Wilson, War Report. The change in offense gameplay was obvious, and it yielded some very positive results for you all, even in light of what we know the turnovers decided the game. Are you and the staff encouraged? Are the players encouraged by this change of pace, and does that, I guess, justify the change?
Well, I think we got a chance to do some of the things we've been doing. You know, you look at last year, we ran some of those same concepts, and you know, there's a progression in what we're doing offensively, and so we had a chance to open it up. Robbie did some really good things in the pass game, right? We were able to balance it out. That was encouraging. Our young wide receivers that have been thrust into playing. All right, Amari Kelly has a big catch. Camden Brown's got a big catch, and you know, Barr had a couple big catches in there as well. So, you know, those things were good. I mean, that was encouraging to see some young players step up and do some things on the perimeter. We obviously have to be better than that going to this game, but in every game forward, because we weren't good enough to win the football game. But overall, there were some positive things in the pass game that I thought helped us. I thought we did a couple things differently that we hadn't done this year, which gave us a little advantage on the perimeter. And then, you know, the run game, like I said, just, you know, some more consistency there when it comes to maybe eliminating the negative plays. That would be the key. All right, stay on task, or excuse me, stay on track. And, you know, we want to be efficient on first and second down so we can stay ahead of the chains and eliminate some of those negative plays in the run game, and then continue to keep the balance that we had.
Middle back, Mike.
Yeah, Mike Griffin from AJC.com. Missouri had a lot of success pressuring, playing a lot of press, man coverage, even some zero. How much of that have you done defensively? And then my second part of my question is Mike Bobo and his familiarity. How much of an advantage might that be in terms of his familiarity with personnel?
Yeah, I think I couldn't give you the exact percentage of zero and pressures and man. We've done that. You know, we play man coverage. zero, you know, we saw some of that in the last game as well. I mean, every defense is going to have a package, you know, where they're bringing everybody. So we do that as well. When we do it, it kind of depends on the game plan. But yeah, Missouri did a good job. I mean, they played hard. They got some momentum. You could see in that team that they were, once they had a few plays and some success early on, you could see the shift in that football team. Those guys played hard. And we know from playing, I mean, we said before, they're a good football team. They showed that. They just came up short, you know, against another really good football team. So those guys were playing extremely hard. And as far as Coach Bobo, you know, being around him and having him here and all that, yeah, sure. I mean, I think there's familiarity with staffs from guys you worked with, guys you've been with before. And obviously he's there. And, you know, Mike and I mean, got a lot of respect for each other. And he's helping that staff. There's a reason why they're successful. I mean, their offensive staff is very good. Their whole coaching staff does a great job. They've shown that. So, you know, and he obviously brings a lot of value to that program too, not just against us, but for everything they're trying to do, because he's a very good offensive coach. And, you know, I think I know that place is special to him, and had a lot of success there as a coordinator before. So, you know, you can see some of those wrinkles that they're utilizing that he's helped bring to that program.
Tom?
I'm sure you'd rather not use him as much as you have, but just Oscar Chapman, what's the value in having a guy who just hasn't given up any punt return really?
Yeah, he's a weapon. Yeah, Oscar's a guy that we've talked about it. I really do. I think he's the best, if not one of the best in the country. He really is. He's every single day. Now, he's one of those guys too in practice. Like, that's not just what happens in the game. It happens in practice all the time. He takes tremendous pride in just trying to win the field position battle. And we had a few guys out, so it was really important in the last game that we had some hang time on the punts, that we put it in the right location so we knew where we were going to cover, and he did exactly that. So he gave our guys an advantage by what he did. And, you know, sometimes in games the field position becomes a huge factor, right? And he's a guy that can put the ball in a lot of spots, and we trust in him to place the ball where it needs to be placed, and then we're going to cover it. And, you know, they didn't have any return yards, so that helped us a lot in that last game.
Bill Cameron, ESPN 106.7. All five opponents have scored in the last 2 minutes for them in the last minute of the first half. Just talk about how that affects and what that can mean to a team going into the halftime.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's probably one of the biggest in my opinion, right? You don't want anybody to score, and you want to score points going into halftime. I think it's all about momentum. And, you know, that's one area when you got the ball, it's not just about scoring touchdowns, it's just about scoring points. All right, try to create some momentum, especially if you get the ball back in the second half. And that's one of the advantages of deferring and having the ball in the second half, is hopefully you get a chance to end that half with some points and get the ball back and kind of come right back out and score again. So being on the losing side of that, yeah, I mean, you go in, they scored, all right, really that's the momentum that they've got. And when you come into halftime, you got to find a way to get that back. You come back out in the field, they may have the ball again. You got to recover quickly, hopefully go 3 and out, get the ball back to your offense, and give yourself a chance from that standpoint. So that's a big one. You got to be at your best, really, in the last 5 minutes of the game. Get your best players in there, all right? Try to keep them from scoring and find ways to put points on the board. So that's a big factor, in my opinion, at halftime, giving up points or trying to get them.
Advice?
Well, speaking of like halves and things, what have you guys been working on, particularly this week, with the second half issues that seem to be a continuing thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, looking at them, obviously, we look at every game, and, you know, we know the reasons, right? We know the reasons. We look at every drive. There's a drive chart. There's a result. There's reasons why, and so we break it all down. You know, what was it? Where do we have a negative play? Where do we have positive plays? What was the end result on those drives? So those are things that we've discussed as a staff. Those are things we discuss with our players. And, you know, to me, it's really comes down to, you know, trying to eliminate some of those negative plays and then just being more consistent. And so that's play call, that's execution, that's all those things. I mean, it's really not one thing in particular, all right? That's just the glaring reason why. It's things that we all have to improve on and get better at. And then, you know, our adjustments coming out of half. I mean, we got to be able to find ways to continue to put points on the board. It's not just a half of football. You got to play all 4 quarters.
Mark?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Zacchaeus Walker. is
Yeah.
how's he doing? And also, looks like DJ James is playing really well corner, is that what?
Yeah, DJ's playing really well. He's starting to get more comfortable out there. I think he's really kind of getting into a groove. It feels like at practice as well. His preparations, focus, all those things. I mean, just learning the defense. You can tell he's more comfortable. Z, you know, coming off of his knee is better. And so now it's just a matter of getting him back in the rotation. And you've seen a little bit more of Jeffrey Imba. You know, Marcus has been out there. Jason Jones. Those guys up front are playing well. We got to get some of the other guys in the mix. Z be one of those guys that we get in there. And he's had a few things, you know, that some personal things, not in a bad way, but he had to handle some stuff. And so that's kind of impacted some of the playing time as well. But he's back this week. He's fine. You know, just some family things, and you know, we're excited to get him back going on Tuesday and then see how we can work him into the rotation.
Anything else? Got two more. Tobias.
How tough is it when you get down to potentially having two scholarship quarterbacks, particularly if both of them, one only having 3 starts and one being a freshman?
What's your question exactly?
I'm saying, no, I mean, how tough is it to deal with that? How tough is it to navigate
Yeah,
that?
are we worried about that?
What's that?
I see. Are we worried about that?
Are
Having
you
two
worried?
guys, yeah, having 2 guys out there on scholarship. Well, technically, we have 3 because we did put Trey Lindsey on scholarship as well. So, and the reason why is because of all he does for our team. And, you know, he's out there and every single week, and this guy's a future coach, and he brings a tremendous value and a lot of really positive things to this team. But as far as our quarterbacks, I mean, you got Robbie out there, you got Holden out there. We'll see where TJ's at this week. And, you know, those are guys that we're getting prepared and ready to play. You know, and for them, and just so you know, like their mindset, I mean, they're getting ready to play, right? They're going to go out there and we can worry about the depth and those things. And that's certainly a concern when you don't have 4 guys like you want to have on scholarship that are available to play. At the same time, as a player, all you're thinking about is just getting your job done. What do I got to do to go out there and help this ball club win? So those guys have been great. Holden's been awesome. He's been preparing every single game. He takes a ton of reps in practice. He's getting better and better. You can see that those reps are helping Robbie as well. He's improving. So again, this week, between those 2 guys, we'll see where the other guys are at. They'll keep getting those reps, and hopefully we see an improvement from each one of them going into this game.
Last question, Mike.
Thanks. Mike Griffith, AJC Doug Nation. Coach, we asked Kirby Smart about this earlier. You know, day and time, every coach gets 4 or 5 years, end of the year. We've seen multiple coaches fired in the middle of seasons now. What do you think this is a byproduct? Is it salaries? Is it just a new sense of urgency that we have in our society?
Yeah, I mean, I think every program's different. I mean, I really do. I don't know. I don't know if it has to do with, you know, anything bigger than that. I mean, just, and I couldn't tell you each and every program's situation and where they are and, you know, those type of things. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, that's just part of it. And I don't know if there's a better answer than that. I know those coaches, I mean, I've seen coaches out there, there's good coaches out there. And, you know, but every program's got different things they're working through and what they want. And so I think that kind of just goes back to, you know, where they are more than anything and where those coaches are in that program.
All right, Coach. Thanks for
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.